Welcome to Matters of Decorum. I'm Scott Quorum. This is what matters to me. If I am looking more like a stereotypical uh, librarian with a quest than normal, uh, I've been doing the whole whipping off my glasses and tossing them off to the side when I started these. All drama, but most of I'm not catching glare from my screen while I'm doing this. And I've been losing my glasses too because my brain is full of holes, and that happens to be one of them. So, this is, according to Amazon, a very fashionable accessory, and I'm tethered, and I haven't lost my glasses since I got them, and that's actually a really nice feeling. So I think I'll stick with it. I was asked in a comment recently if I could address the concept of, as a dungeon master, handling your pacing in a game so that the party has a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, particularly with a quiet group. Hi, Candace. There's two answers to that. There's two sides of so many things, but there's two answers to this question. One, simple, basic, elementary technique. The other, a little bit more advanced. Let's go over them in that order. Basic technique. You have a group, you have a quiet group. That happens. Groups have just gotten together. Maybe they're not as comfortable with everyone. Pickup game at a local shop, or you're getting some friends together for the first time who might not be involved. There's all number of reasons that your group can be a quiet one. Nothing wrong with the quiet group. You just need to pull a little bit more out of them. That is kind of the dungeon master's position. And while I'm going to couch these techniques mostly in terms of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, because that's what I've been playing a lot, and that is incidentally what I play with Candace, the person who requested this. These responses are more or less system agnostic. You can bend them to just about whatever you're actually running. Pacing bogs down when there's nothing to do. And nothing to do happens for a number of reasons. When your game becomes a walking simulator, when you're trying to show things off or explain a lot of detail or have a lot of background to get through, or just trying to get from one place to another, but you have this image in your mind of all the stuff that people need to pass to get there. And when the people on the other side of the table, when your players aren't rolling dice, your pacing bogs down. When they're not contributing something, your pacing bogs down. You want dice rolling. So, you want feeling of satisfaction, you want fulfillment, you want endorphins. You want to do those things that give players that rush of, I did something and it mattered. Most characters are optimized such that, or character classes are optimized such that there is something, perhaps a small few things that the character can do on a regular basis reliably. They've got enough bonuses that with the right difficulty class, they can hit their targets and they have succeeded at something. And it's not always combat. In fact, it shouldn't always be combat. Combat takes a while and in and of itself can bog down your game. A lot of people are there for the combat, and if that's what people are there for, awesome. But when you're in one of these areas and you just need a little boost of endorphins to get people to the next spot with a smile on their face, stuff happens. Something happens. Something that involves those rolls that those players can make on a regular basis. My go-tos personally are perception and insight. Something is happening. Something passed this way. You're listening to this person and something appears to you. Give me perception. Give me an insight roll, would you? And it doesn't take very long. You start off anything looking around. Investigation is a key part of the beginning of most adventures. So start off with some insight perception rolls. See who is good at what. See who wants to do what. Maybe it's not perception or insight. Maybe it's arcana or nature or religion. Um, Most folks have a figure something out roll, or even history can be a good one. Um, you give them something that they can probably do. And when you start off, you set that DC kind of low. That's fine. Give me an investigation. DC 10, DC 5. It's something that's really obvious, and you just want people to get it. DC 5 is basically, I want you to get this roll. Please, God, don't roll a 1. Um, DC 10 is, this is going to seem kind of tricky. I know it's the median on the dice you're rolling, but let's see what happens here if you give me that roll, because you could fail that. And throw a few of them. Let everyone get the roll. Someone's going to get the highest number. Someone's going to get the lowest number. Start with the lowest, work your way up, and give answers. Tell them what they have discovered on their rolls. If it's nothing, then, well, you don't think you got too much insight about that. You think that guy that passed this way, he might have had a plan because he's leaving some kind of marks. You're not sure exactly what those are, but they're a little familiar. You see, he is leaving marks in a specific thieves code for this city. He's obviously a rogue. He's with the guild, and he is marking buildings to be hit later. Everyone gets a something, even the person who failed. They get a response. They get interacted with. Their character gets a little verisimilitude, and they can carry on and look for the next thing they can try to do. Encourage players to ask for roles. If you see something you want to do or something that comes up, if you'd like to make a roll, let me know. We can probably just do that. Can I make a roll to work this out? Absolutely. That seems like a really good idea. Why don't you do that? That also engages your players. In a quiet group, that's gold. Someone wants to engage, you encourage that. You give them a hand up. You give them a bonus. You give them advantage. It's like, well, okay. Can I try and roll? I don't know. Can I roll history on this? You know what? Because of your background, I'm going to give you advantage on that history roll. Let's see what you come up with. Make them feel good about the fact that they chose to engage. Make them feel good about the role they're about to make, and give them something, even if they completely biff their role. Give them a chuckle. If someone critically fumbles that history roll, you can feel free to give them either a false bit of history, which is the funniest thing you can do, or relevant history for another question entirely, which might actually come into play later in the game. But they did not get the answer to their question. They got the answer to a question, and that will lead to a sense of fulfillment later on. When it comes back around, this is that thing. I thought it didn't matter, but it's that thing. Oh my God. And you, as the dungeon master, seem like a genius because now you have foreshadowed and given them stuff. And even if you just pulled it out of your hat later on down the line, and your players feel like they had this special insight, even if it was a result of a critical fumble. And they may have a tendency to want to discard that, but information gets out there. And if you play with it, boom. Never give them too much time to do nothing. And dungeon masters can take all the time at the table doing nothing. You don't want to do that. You don't want to have people walking from room to room, going from room to room. Things happen in rooms. There's things to look at in rooms. There are no big blank 10-foot by 10-foot areas that just don't do anything. I hate dungeons. I really come to hate dungeons unless they are made interesting? What is in this room? What is about this room that made it necessary for someone to go to the effort to carve it in stone? Why is this room here? What is in it? What was so special about this space in this place that someone had to make it? It's a 10 foot by 10 foot room. In the center is a chest being guarded by an orc. What do you do? It's a terrible reason to carve a 10 foot by 10 foot room in solid earth. Don't get so involved in what history and grandeur you have prepared here that you end up running a monologue travel log. Done it myself, and I get very excited about the environments I put people in, especially if I'm running modern day and I'm going to a city that I have been to and the people that I'm gaming with haven't. I can wax loquacious about a place or the stuff that they come around or a particular kind of cheese. And if it doesn't grab them, move on. Just if someone engages and wants to make rules about this or try and get insights about something, excellent. You got it. Reel that in. And if they don't, move on. You lost that encounter and you can save all that material for later down the line. It can become important later on, but don't make people sit through your fantasy because you're all there to share one. And that's basically it. Don't take people through too much stuff without getting signs of engagement from them, and give them things to do. Give them things to do that are on their character sheet that they can do. Give them a few things that aren't on their character sheet that they can do so they can have a feeling that they're scrambling for stuff so that when you give them the thing that they do have, oh, I've got that. I can do that. That's awesome. I know that one. And absolutely encourage them to call their own roles. And can I roll on this to try and do that? Yeah, that seems like a really good idea. Why don't you give that a try? And there, just if you start to notice a lull, if you're wondering what happens next, if they're not going where you want them to, or you want them to go in a direction, you feed it to them with success. You feed it to them with failure. You can have a failed roll give them a contraindication. Well, you want them to go this way. Give me that roll. You failed it. Well, you think maybe you got to go that way. He failed it. Maybe we should work a way to find it. And then it's their idea, which also leads to a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. That was the short answer. Long answer is harder. And it starts before the game does. It starts at session 0. When the dungeon master lays out what the campaign is going to be, what kind of adventures you're going to be doing, what kind of characters are you folks going to make, and you listen to the backstories that they start to come up with. Some players are going to give you a backstory from the first moment that before pencil hits paper, they're going to have a backstory in their head, have an idea who this character is going to be. They might, class and race might come last, with dice rolls for stats coming final, but have this intricate backstory based on the choices that they are pre-making in their heads. Beautiful. Or the backstory could come last. I've got a character, I don't know much, but you can guide them to the suggestions in the DMG or in the player's handbook when they choose a background, and there are, you could make some rolls on what their motivations and goals and such are. Not a bad idea. If people want to choose their own, that's excellent. If they don't, make some rolls or make some choices on those lists. And what is getting the character interested. The dungeon master's best tool is what those characters are interested in. Those are all the hooks that you can sink in them to get them to go where they need to go for the adventure to progress. As a player, it's not a good thing to ask the dungeon master what your motivation is. Why am I doing this? The player is responsible for finding their motivation for doing stuff. The dungeon master, on the other hand, does have to have something there that is a reason for people to be doing anything. And having a handle on what motivates those characters allows you to build that in. But motivating the characters is half of it. You've got a quiet group. You just started playing together. They might be people you've known from someplace else. It might be people you just met. Pickup game at a shop, what have you. And you have the time between when you sit down and say hi and introduce yourselves to the time the dice start rolling to figure out what motivates the player. Character's one thing, player's another thing entirely. Character's going to give you some clues. Okay, if they're making a character that is interested in these things, the player probably has adjacent interests. Okay, they like to investigate things. They want to get in there and fight things. They want to tinker with things. They want to do some world building. They want to plumb the depths of the character. They want to get involved in some drama. All of these. You gotta suss that out. It is practice. It's just practice. It's playing a lot of games, a lot of people, or playing very deep games with people that you already play games with. It's learning the people behind the characters. And you can get some of that by gauging reactions as you go on. You can learn this as you go on. You can start with Biff Bam Pow. Just start with, okay, there's a situation. It's already going on. You get dropped into it, start rolling dice, and you can see which direction the wind blows with the individuals at the table at that point. Nothing like a big action sequence. Not necessarily combat, but action. It can include combat, and traditionally it often does. A natural disaster is also pretty good. It's an earthquake and the school's falling down. What do you do? Oh, damn, I gotta do that now. I may have mentioned it before. In space games that I have run, there is a tradition in my space games that there is a planet called Nanorphia 4. That is a planet covered in a thin layer of nuns and orphans. That is the worst possible planet for anything to happen to, because nothing can happen to that planet without obviously killing a large number of nuns and orphans, and you generally want to avoid that. Starting an adventure by threatening planet Nanorphia is not necessarily a bad way to start, because you get a real quick read on your players and the characters that they have made. Once you've got your read on the players and the characters, constantly throw things in there that tweak them, that reach in and grab some piece of their attention. A mysterious part of their history, or a storyline within the campaign that weaves in things that are important to that character on a very emotional and individual basis. and let the characters get involved with each other's stories or not. Don't let that story that deeply involves one character just involve that character. You're all traveling together. There are things happening around you. It's going to get a little splattered. People are going to get other character stories on them, and other characters, don't worry about that. This is something I have to take care of. Perfectly good approach, depending on the player and the character. Or, yeah, this is a problem. I could use someone to watch my back. Can you help me? Also, a perfectly viable alternative. Not knowing what to do in this situation is one of the most human and real things someone can do at the table. And throwing it out for a discussion, I have never had to deal with this before. I thought I got away from this and they followed me. Has anyone else dealt with something like this? Has anyone else been chased by assassins? What do you do? Can someone help? If you get that conversation going at the table, you have won. You've won D&D. That is the best thing you can get is people talking about the things that involve their characters most deeply. And then you cannot help but get fulfillment and satisfaction. You just got to drop that story in there every so often. It might be a sideline. It might be something you never planned for this campaign. It came about in session 0 and it's like, okay, well, I'll throw an assassin attack in every so often and we'll just see what happens. And it's going to wind its way into your story. It's going to. If someone were to wait, that guy that you've been chasing, is he wearing the same thing that are they both part of they're all part of the Assassin's Guild? Yes, they are. That winds itself in, and that's why I never planned the end of an adventure. I mean, I have some idea of what the storyline's going to be, but I don't do detailed planning because I can't come up with anything better than what we can all come up with at the table as we go along. And that is the main part. Long answer. Hard part of maintaining fulfillment and satisfaction in your pacing in that game, particularly amongst a quiet group. Be aware of what is important to the characters. Be aware of what interests the players. Incorporate things that are important to the characters and important to the players in your campaign, regardless of what your previous plans were. You'll have a better campaign as a result, I promise you. And the hard part is never let them see you doing it. Never let your players get the feeling that you are reaching out and doing something in particular or special for them. Make it seem like you planned all of this all along. That is just a part of what you are doing. Don't add special emphasis to these events. Don't give them a nudge and a wink about GM to player when you're talking about particular things. Let it all be part of this organic whole that is your campaign, and let them think that was always part of the plan. Also takes practice. It's like not letting people see the wires in a movie. People can't fly. They're on wires, but they spend a lot of money making the wires look like they're not there. And that's what you got to do as the game master. You don't let them see what the magic trick is. This thing you've done where you've taken an idea in their head and all of a sudden it's not just in their head but it's in everyone's. You've taken this thought that's in their brains and you spread it around, and now everyone has this idea that they had in their head and they're all interacting with it, and it's a magic trick. Don't spoil the magic trick. Um, Not that you're doing anything wrong. Not that spoiling the magic trick is going to have that detrimental an effect. It's just not going to be quite as magical. And that's what you want. You want your pacing, you want to have as many exits to a bog down as possible. A story element, a die roll, something that you can just throw in. You want your ninja smoke bomb when something's not working out. Hell yeah. You walk into this library and it's big and it's huge and it's yeah, there's you can assassins just everywhere. Just what do you do? You want to have something that can suddenly seem like you had a plan for an encounter here that is going to be the thing that takes it off the rails. When in reality, that is you rebuilding the rails as you go along. I hope this has answered the question, or at least given some insight into how I deal with the trick of pacing and maintaining a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. Um, it is more than anything else practice. Whether you're a player or a dungeon master at that table, the time that you put in there observing and working out how all of this happens, and trying stuff out and failing over and over until you get the thing that works for you. Um, that's all part of the process. Uh, Hopefully, you can bypass a little bit of the failing over and over part with some of these insights. Well, thank you very much for following me along on this particular ramble. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have anything else you'd like to hear me talk about, questions you'd like to hear me answer, or subjects you'd like to hear me cover, go ahead, leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. I invite you to hit the subscribe button down below, and if you do, hit the little notification bell so that you're made aware when my videos become available. If you'd like to help the channel out in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up on my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottQuorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. It allows me to make better videos more often. Meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Quorum. This is what has mattered to me, and I'll see you next time on the next Matters of Decorum.